Do you feel the urge to always want to be there for people, to always want to help people out? And not necessarily from a place of validation, but just because you just want to help, that you need to be there for people. And a lot of times you can't even explain why, but you just need to be there. Now, this episode is for you. Why not stay tuned with me? Hello, my name is Victor Akan, and I would like to welcome you to another episode of my Breath of Hope podcast. Now, in this episode, as I explained earlier, I'm focusing on those who like to help. Now, not necessarily people pleasers, but those who just have a genuine need to help people. And not just help, but help them so much that it becomes an inconvenience to you. That is so much of an inconvenience to you. Now, I'm not saying you are helping people once in a while and it's inconvenience once in a while. I'm saying there is a constant pattern of inconvenience to you. And I used to have this friend, that would always want to help people, not necessarily because she needed validation, but she just wanted to help people. And a lot of times she would run into debt and all of those things, all because she had a real need to, that she likes to take charge over people, right? And it kind of, got her into some little trouble, right? But she was able to solve it, but that's not the point. The point is that she had this urge. And so you have people who fall into this category. And you have to understand that there are a couple of reasons why you might act this way. So it could be because your family, let's say in your family, you're like the firstborn, so you were always taking charge of other people, always getting things done for other people. So you just naturally assumed that rule of savior complex. Why? Because you saw maybe your little ones need you. You have to go and get things done. You have to be the one keeping the family moving, especially if you came from a dysfunctional family, okay? Or you could just watch your parents be like that and you became like that. Or it could just be that it's even neither of these cases. You just found out that you were like that, and you for the longest time you've been like that, and it has now become second nature. It has now become like your core identity. This is not always ideal, and it's bad for a couple of reasons. Over time, not always, but sometimes over time, you would have an unrealistic expectations of people. And what that means is that, imagine that you were in Ibadan and let's say your friend needed you, right? And so you drive all the way from Ibadan to Lagos, right? These are sacrifices that you are making. And the thing about human beings is that regardless of how selfless a human being is, expectations are created in a human being's heart when the human being has gone an extra mile for you. So for instance, if we are strangers, I have no expectation of you, you have no expectation of me. But assuming that you came and met me, say, bros, I beg, borrow me 10,000, I borrow you 10,000, you come back a week later, I need like 20k, I give you 20k. Over time, one day a time will come when you're writing with on a book, you have a spare pen, I say, please, can you bring your spare pen? You'll be like, I don't give up my spare pen. A little offense will come to you no matter how good you are, because the first thing that comes to your mind is, see person why they do this thing for, see person why they do that one for, if you give me this small thing. So that is going to come, like you can't fight it. Over time, when you do so much for so many people, you would expect so much from so many people. And when don't measure up, you feel hurt. You might not express it, you may or you may not, but you feel hurt. And so people will not be able to keep up to matching your energy because they don't have the savior complex that you have. Secondly, you would disappoint people, because irrespective of how good you are to people, irrespective of the nature of sacrifice you make for people, one day you will not be able to measure up in some way to someone. And the way human beings work is that human beings, again, work with expectations. So when I notice that you always come through to me in a certain area and you don't come through now, especially if the human being you're dealing with is not high on emotional intelligence, you will not be like, why this person no come through? Why? Because the person expected you to come through, and so it has become some sort of entitlement. So when you don't come through, the person now begins to feel like this person has changed, this person did that, and it can then create offense in the person's heart. It could even be in your relationship. You come through so much, and the moment the person does not come through for you like that, you will now begin to get offended. But if you understood that a person had a savior complex, you wouldn't, right? But yes, there's that. So you won't be able to keep everyone happy for so long because you are limited. you have limited resources, and the nature of that means that you will not always be able to help people, and some people will get offended because of that. So it's like a cycle whereby people are not able to match up your energy, and you might get offended, or you're not able to consistently 100% match other people's energy and they get offended. Now, for some people, not everyone, but for some people who go to the other far end, especially if you don't have things that check you, when you help people so much that everyone now depends on you, it can get to your head. You begin to have like a kind of like godlike feeling, not necessarily godlike, but godlike feeling. What I mean is that a feeling of superiority, like you're the guy that everyone reaches out to, this one, that. It can get to your head. And as time goes on, you would have clashes with people. Why? Because people would sense that feeling of superiority. People would sense that feeling of this guy thinks like, because he's always there to help me, if he thinks like he's better than me and things like that. And that might long term also affect your relationship. Another reason why it's bad is because sometimes, not always, depending on the specific context, but sometimes always wanting to be there for people does not really give you the chance to grow. So for instance, now you have children, your children are growing up, they need to be independent, but you still want to do things for them, assuming that you took it to that your self complex level to your family. You still want to do things for them, so you're doing almost everything for them. After a while, your children are just at home, they are spoiled, they can't seem to get things done themselves, they can't seem to take responsibilities for certain things that they always need you around for. You're not teaching your children to be as strong and independent as you are, but rather your independence is causing them to be so dependent that they would struggle to learn independence as they get older in life. And another reason why it's very bad is this: in life you have limited resources. I mean, even Bill Gates has limited resources. What that means is that his resources is finite, it can't finish. But you're just an average guy, you don't have a lot, or maybe you do, but not a lot. You can still finish. Just one emergency can suck your money. I mean, in Nigeria, just one health emergency and you're already in debt. So you could be on that level, but you have limited resources. So what happens is, speaking financially now, when people need your money and you're always there to help people, you're trying to save, someone calls you, I need this, you feel like I need to be there for that person. What happens over time is that your money is doing like this. Your money is not growing, you're not building wealth, you're not building stability. It feels like today your life is up, tomorrow is down. And so you now have what is called the stagnant life syndrome, right? Where you feel like your life is just there. And so boundaries has to be put in place. And it's very important because you're going to have kids, you're going to have a wife, you're going to have people who will depend on you, people who you must prioritize. And so if you're not building your life in view of them long term, they will suffer. And so your kindness, your extreme kindness, not just kindness, your extreme kindness and niceness towards a group of people might affect your more important people in future, which will be your nuclear family. So it's very important that you recognize that there is a problem. I'm not saying don't help people. I'm not saying don't be that amazing person that you are. I'm saying that balance is the key to life. And how do you basically attain that balance? First thing, ask yourself, be honest, ask yourself, why do I do this? Now, for a lot of people, they do it because they are scared, or not necessarily scared, but they feel like this person might not get this done without me. Okay? Now, other people just do it because they just love it, that is their passion. Other people at the other end will just do it because they are scared that these people might actually realize that they don't really need me in their lives, right? So I watched a movie where this guy had a savior complex, and a father figure in his life rightly pointed out to him that, see guy, you have a savior complex, and you don't have a savior complex because you're scared that people might not make it without you, right? You're actually scared that people might make it without you. And the guy talked about it and he realized that it was true. So is the need to feel needed, the need to feel like, what if subconsciously, now not that you do subconsciously, but what if I'm not there? Actually, I might come back. Let's say I travel, they actually get some things done. I might come back and feel like they actually didn't need me. I'll feel not needed. So sometimes you need to feel needed. So ask your why. Why do you retrospect? Like, go back and think on it, right? Why do you feel this way? Like, why do you feel the need, the urge to always jump in for people? Find your reason. And from there, you can now understand the root and how to tackle it. Now, secondly, how do you tackle it? You have to understand this. You are not God. To be honest, I used to battle savior complex. I still do to a little extent, right? I think I'm working on it. But I think I'm way better than I used to be. I want to help people, like if somebody is this, I cannot be like, okay, if it makes you happy, if it helps you, I mean, let's get it done. But a friend noticed it, actually an ex-colleague, and we spoke about it at length, and he told me something. He said, Victor, you're not God. You're trying to play God. That's how he put it. And I was like, how? And he was like, you were not designed to solve everybody's problems. Because a cousin of mine, his life was not going right. He didn't have a job. He didn't have anything moving well for him. And, he was already getting old. And I was feeling genuinely worried. Like, how can I help this guy? Okay, can I raise money? Can we do this? Can he do that? And he told me that you are not designed to fix everybody's life. I mean, when he said it, it sounded really strange and weird in my head. Like, okay, that's new, right? But there was how I knew that I had the problem was that something fought within me that I should be able to help. That was when I knew, okay, I had the problem. And he told me that, ask yourself, if you die today, will this person find his way? A lot of people that have come to you for help, if you die today, will they find your way? I thought about it. It's true. There are more important people than me that have died, and people that needed them found their way. Who am I? Right? People will find their way without you. They will miss you. They will miss your help. They will miss your value, but they will get things done regardless. So maybe you're not that important like that, right? That's what he told me. Maybe you're not that important like that. So do what you can do. When God needs you to help people, God will put what is needed for those people in your hands to help them. If people need your help and you don't have the resources, it means that God most times does not think that to be the one to help them. They'll find their way to sort themselves out. And when I learned to what I now do now is that when people ask me for something and I know that this will inconvenience me greatly, I say no. Sometimes I still say yes, but after that day I started saying no more. And I realized that there was this weight that was lifted off from my shoulder. I'm not God. They'll be fine. I'm not God. And he said something else. He said that pray for them. Sometimes the best help you can give somebody is prayer, and that's fine. Because you must also understand that your prayers are effective, especially if you're a Christian. Your prayers are effective. So sometimes someone needs help. You can't help them with money, but you can pray for them and God can send a helper to them, and that's fine. You also still contributed to that. So sometimes you can't always help everybody, and that's fine because you're not God. Another thing that helps is learning to ask for help occasionally. Now, why is this important? Because the feeling of being a savior, the feeling of always wanting to help people means that you have a savior complex, which means that you're always the one that gives. Which means that there is a feeling of, okay, I'm the one that helps this person, I'm the one that helps that person here or there. Sometimes learn to ask people for help. It reduces that savior complex image that you have of yourself, that you've built up, at least on the subconscious level. Knowing that it's okay to be a savior to other people on some days, and it's okay for other people to be a savior to you on some days. So that way it's more symbiotic than it is parasitic. Okay? So the more you do that, the more that notion of being a savior complex dies down, right? Lastly, learn to say no. So remember what I said before? Understand you're not God. So when people ask you, you put that in mind and say no, and it's fine. Just pray for people. If they genuinely need help and you can't come through, you can gather people and say you can help together if it's too much for you and you think that it's an emergency, right? But learn to say no. And sometimes you're saying no, especially when it's not an emergency, right? There has to be context to these things, right? Because I'm not saying don't be a wicked person. Especially when it's not an emergency. Sometimes you're saying no is you trying to help the other person grow. So I have a friend that said when his mom was alive, she would need help with some things technologically, and he would always help us. One day, he wanted her to grow up in these things. So there was a day he said, no, do it yourself. The mother was angry, she said, no, do it yourself. So she did herself once, did herself twice, and realized that she didn't need him. So over time, she became relatively more technology savvy. So she didn't need him for some things, and she was happy for it. Sometimes learn to tell people no when you know that this thing, you can actually do it yourself. You actually don't need me. You need to learn to grow up. Like, you just need to learn to be independent and handle things for yourself. Sometimes the true help you can give a person to help them to be independent, to help them to be useful to themselves, is learning them, is allowing them the freedom to do it themselves and grow, so that they don't eventually need you, right? And these are some of the tips that I found that were helpful. If you have any more, please help me add them and I'll be sure to comment. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you know anyone that has severe complex issues, maybe your boyfriend or girlfriend has severe complex, let's say your boyfriend always wants to help other people, please share it to him, okay? Help him, help yourself, help your relationship, spreading my content. Thank you. Bye.